Hey, gang, it's Jeff, and welcome to our Tuesday night live stream. As always, we have our tremendously successful and wonderful producer, Jill, on with us, who's going to moderate the questions. And we had quite a few questions that came through over the last 24 hours or so. So, for those of you who wrote them in, thank you. We also have a few from last week, which we're going to try to get to as well. And of course, if you have questions in the chat box, we're gonna attack those with vigor. And so, Jill, we are going to be passing it off to you in a second, but I need to read the disclaimer for the state of New York. And this is just to make sure that we are clear on the rules of the road, so to speak. Many of the questions we cover here are nuanced. We do our best to answer them, but our responses are meant to be directional, not exact. Your situation may require more details than we can get into in a live stream. So this live stream is for educational purposes only. Also, we haven't had the chance to speak with you one-on-one, so please treat this information as general guidance, not advice to act on. For anything specific to your situation, make sure you talk with a qualified professional. Speaking of qualified professionals, if you have questions about Medicare, give our trusted partner chapter a call, 440-703-1224. I will put their phone number here. They are wonderful to work with, and we have heard nothing but good things since we've been doing business with them now for well over a year. Wonderful organization. All right, Jill, why don't I pass it over to you to lead the way?
All right. And so for many of you that were on last week, we did talk about R.A. Parker from chapter being here tonight. Unfortunately, he had to be on a flight at the exact same time as the live stream, but he has assured us he will be joining us next week. So you will have him here, but Jeff will be taking some of those Medicare questions tonight. And if you do want a copy of Ari's book, it's not that complicated, the new version, do send that to livestream@holyschmidt.com, and I will put that in the chat box in just a little bit. All right, so should we get to the questions, Jeff?
Let's do it.
All right, so we have one that just came into the chat box. Of course, we will be taking your emailed questions as well. But Joe Bonchi is asking, my Social Security website updated to your claim has been approved, but will continue to show pending until the month you elected to start your benefits claims, May. First payment, June. What should I expect next?
Well, I don't know. I haven't read the notification, but it sounds like you've done everything that you need to do, and you're going to get your first payment starting in June. Sounds like you elected to start your Social Security in May. Social Security is in arrears, 1 month in arrears. And so I think that you can assume that starting in June, and depending on what your birth date is, the day, it'll be at one of 3 points during the month. They don't send them out daily. They send them out once a week, depending on your birthday. So sounds like you're good to go. So congratulations. Well done.
All right, Cindy Henry. She said she sent a request for Ari's book a week ago and has not gotten a reply. And Cindy, we say to you, please be patient with us. We get hundreds and hundreds of requests, which we're thrilled about and happy to send the book out. But it does take a bit of time. And so sometimes there is a bit of a delay. All right, so let's take our emailed question. This is a Medicare question from Suzanne. She says, my husband is turning 70 and retiring soon. He is currently on a large group plan. If we choose a Medicare Advantage plan now, can we switch back to Medicare Part B later? Are there any downsides?
So you never switch out of Medicare Part B. You always have to pay for Part B. So you don't lose Part B by going on a Medicare Advantage plan. I think the question you might want to be asking is, you're talking about the difference between Medicare Advantage and Medigap. And that is something you need to pay attention to here, because you can go from Medigap to a Medicare Advantage plan without underwriting, but you can't go from a Medicare Advantage plan to a Medigap plan without underwriting. Generally speaking, there are 4 states that will allow you to do it, and there are special circumstances that will allow you to do it. But the question really should focus on your ability to get on a Medigap plan in the future. Now, this is a tricky one because there are a lot of things about Medicare Advantage plans that people love. They love all of the additional benefits that come with a Medicare Advantage plan. It looks a lot more like your old employer plan to some of you anyway. It looks a lot more like your old employer plan. And so it looks very appealing on the surface. And for some people, it works out just fine. But just know that you need to go into a Medicare Advantage plan with your eyes wide open, and that is things change. And I use the analogy because a lot of people on this call on this live stream have been in the workforce, and some of you have been in the workforce for 20 or 30 years or 40 years. You've been working for the same company for many years, and when you first started at your company, it was one type of company. But 2 or 3 CEOs later, the direction of the company changed, and everything got a lot harder. Think about a Medicare Advantage plan when you sign up and you're completely healthy, and what you might need in 5 or 10 years when things get harder. And that's really the litmus test. You have to make sure that you fully understand what your options are. And a good place to start is our partner at Chapter 440-703-1224. Talk to them, and I will tell you, for those of you who haven't seen my interview with the CEO of Chapter, they cover all plans nationwide, but he also gets in a lot of detail about the differences between a Medicare Advantage plan and a Medigap plan. And all you need to do is go into my library of videos and look for the video entitled One-Way Doors or something like that. It's about 45 minutes long, and it is absolutely worth the 45 minutes. It's really well done, and I can't think of anything that's not covered on that video because I put the questions together myself, knowing that ultimately this audience was going to be watching it. So I asked all the difficult questions, and the video is called Medicare's One-Way Doors. Check it out in the library of videos we have on Holy Schmidt.
All right. Mac9833 asked for the name of Ari's book. It's called It's Not That Complicated, and the author is Ari Parker. All right, and it is on Amazon, but if you write into livestream@holyschmidt.com and put Ari's book, we will send that to you complimentary, so no need to go buy it. All right, Scott Boggs is asking, I am currently 55. I am planning on retirement at 61, possibly 60, depending on returns. What are the big things I should be considering? Thanks. I have been watching your videos for a couple of weeks now. So welcome to Scott.
So this question isn't necessarily about Social Security, just more holistically. Is that right, Jill?
About planning on retirement at 61, possibly 60.
So there are a lot of videos out there, and this is something that I genuinely agree with. There are a lot of videos out there that say retiring earlier is better, and I agree with that. If you don't like your job, of course. I also agree with it because there are only a certain number of months and years we have ahead of us, and only a certain percentage of those are filled with energy, livelihood, and general good health. And so the thing to think about just from a holistic perspective is, does that represent you? How do you feel about your job? And are there goals you have in your life that you want to achieve that require you to leave the workforce to achieve them? That's on the one side. On the other side, you do need to pay for retirement. And so there's a trade-off between living large in retirement and living in retirement with more years. And that's kind of the trade-off when it comes to money. And so it's an individual thing. It sounds like something you really should talk to a financial planner about. If you send your information to the live stream inbox, livestream@holyschmidt.com, we work with a team of financial planners. These aren't affiliates of ours. We don't get paid for them, but we get so many requests for financial planners, and they always come from they come from our Facebook page. They come from our Instagram. They come from all over the place, 3 different email addresses. But if you want us to find it quickly, send it to livestream@holyschmidt.com. Put your name, your telephone number, and some basic details, and one of us will come back to you anyway with some ideas of someone you can talk to.
All right. There's a question from Mr. Davey or Mr. Dave, and I'm not sure if this is one for now, but maybe. I was on SSDI when I was younger, but I returned to work 5 years later. How can I get an accurate estimate of what my Social Security full retirement calculation will be?
How long has it been?
It just says, I returned to work 5 years later. He was on disability when he was younger, but then returned to work 5 years later.
My Social Security page at Social Security on the Social Security website is going to give you your best estimate. Whenever you're dealing with any government entity, and by the way, the folks at the Social Security Administration really are great hard workers, so this has nothing to do with them, but you're dealing with appropriations, and one of the things that governments have notoriously underinvested in is technology for Social Security. And it's not a political thing. It's been going on for 30 years. And so it's going to be accurate-ish. That's why I asked how long it's been, because if it's been 5 years, then the data is going to be relatively clean. I would say, though, that you're going to have the potential anyway to have a bit of a lag, and also a lot of the way that your estimates are calculated is that they assume that you're earning what you're earning now into the future. And so if you stopped working today but didn't claim Social Security for 5 more years or 4 more years, well, then it's going to be a little bit off, because the Social Security Administration takes your best 35 years of earnings, brings it into today's dollars by using a multiplication factor, and then that adds all 35 years up and divides it by 420, and that's the starting point for your Social Security calculation. And then it goes through a formula after that called bend points. But you can do the math yourself. The SSA website's going to be pretty close if it's been 5 years, but know that it might be off a bit simply because things don't get updated in real time on that website. If it's been more than, but I also say it's probably 12 months accurate. So if it doesn't have your correct numbers today for 2026, it probably will within 6 months or so.
And he clarified that he was on disability between 2010 and 2015.
So definitely that piece has worked its way through the system. If you feel like that's not the case, by the way, you should talk to the Social Security Administration. Also, you can check your history of your earnings history that's used to calculate your payment on the SSA website. You just have to dig in a bit and go to ssa.gov and sign up for My Social Security.
All right. B. Carrie Hudson is asking, is Social Security in danger of having funding issues by 2032?
So I'm going to give you my Jeff Schmidt response, and it's a fairly educated response. It's not an ironclad guarantee, but we have been here before. In fact, we've been here many times before in one form or another. The Social Security program has had at least 10, I think it's actually 12 or 13 major amendments over the years. And the one, because we have not lived through all of those amendments, we think that everything that's happening today is the only thing that we ever see. But the most relevant amendment was in 1983. And in 1983, the Social Security program was in bad shape. It was months away from being in the position where payments had to be cut. And the Democrats and the Republicans weren't getting along. There was no consensus on how to fix it. And Reagan basically didn't know what to do, I think is a fair assessment. And then seven, I believe it was either 7 senators or 7 congressmen. It might have been 7 congressmen from both sides of the aisle got together, and they put together a plan to fix the problem. And so when that happened, they did 3 things. They created an immediate fix by raising the Social Security tax from 5.4% to 6.2%, so 0.8% for the employee and 0.8% for the employer. That fixed the funding issue immediately because you have now more money coming in than going out. And then they slowly raised the full retirement age from 65 to 67, starting 20 years in the future. So anybody that was coming up on retirement wasn't going to lose their age 65 full retirement age. And so those 2 issues in particular were what stopped any major Social Security cuts from happening. I'll tell you that we spend a lot more time thinking about it than most politicians do, because 2032, 2033, or even 2034, frankly, it depends on what interest rates are doing, because believe it or not, the higher the interest rate, the longer the livelihood of Social Security. Those events are not anywhere near close to being critical for most politicians. And it's been my experience that when you look at things that get done, they almost always get done within weeks or months of the issue. It's certainly not something that's going to happen. And I'm saying this from a nonpartisan perspective. It doesn't matter who's sitting in Congress and the White House right now. It's not going to happen during this presidency. It's unlikely. It's going to happen during the next one, when that president is going to be faced with the issue. And so, and that's just the nature of problems in government. And again, it's not a comment about Republicans or Democrats. It's a comment about process. And so I think it's unlikely that you're going to have any issues. I think you're going to see something very similar. There might be some differences around the edges. Maybe they'll take the cap off of Social Security. But if they take the cap off of Social Security, then they need to increase the size of the Social Security payment. The way that Social Security is already calculated is that the people who need it the most, the lowest earners, get something like 90% of their lifetime earnings average. And then as you make more and more money, that percentage goes down, and the top earners end up, at least with a big portion of their earnings, only getting 15% of their lifetime earnings. And that's all based on the same Social Security percentage, that's 6.2%. If you take the cap off, you probably need to extend that a bit. That might be something, but there are a lot of ways to fix it. I can't imagine that if it's 2032, 2033 comes around and the government just says, you know what, we're just gonna let Social Security get cut by 18, 20, 22%, depending on what's happening at the time, because you'll have 57 million people. A large portion of them are moving back in with their kids and saying, I can't afford to live on my own. No politician would support that, and both political parties have said that Social Security is sacrosanct. So I think it's unlikely. I just don't think that we've decided on the path forward yet. But there are a lot of options that the politicians can use to move the path forward, and I'm pretty confident they will.
All right. Questions are coming in fast and furiously. We have a lot of questions.
Okay.
All right. An emailed question from Peter on Social Security. We know that having too much income can affect our Social Security benefits through benefit if taking early benefits and the taxability of benefits. Are there any simple planning approaches that you recommend if you have significant 401k or IRA balances? Are there benefits to Roth conversion, lessons for RMDs?
Yep. So there are, and Roth conversions are a big part of that strategy. Again, basically the whole premise behind a Roth conversion is this. There are 2 or 3 or 4 things that cost money in retirement that people don't really see. And one of them is required minimum distributions. So at 45, 55, you ask the average 55-year-old what a required minimum distribution is, and they're not going to be able to tell you, not with any degree of certainty, unless they spend time on our channel. But these are things that creep up on you, and they bite hard. And the other is IRMA. And people are thinking, well, what does IRMA have to do with required minimum distributions? Well, nothing, but IRMA has everything to do with a Roth conversion, and so do required minimum distributions. And so when you start taking part of your money out of your 401k or your IRA, and you pay taxes on it, and you do it over a period of time, you're hoping that your taxes that you're paying on that piece are less than the taxes that you would be paying in the future. And if you have big required minimum distributions, you're going to potentially anyway have very big taxes as in terms of percentages of the amount that you have that you're taking out. So people engage in Roth conversions, and they pay 10, 12%. They're in the lowest tax bracket, and they fill these buckets. And someone makes a decision. They say, you know what, I want to do a certain portion of my income or my 401k or my IRA. I want to convert a portion of it each year between now and age 73 or now and age 75 if you're born after 1960. And that will allow me to reduce these required minimum distributions and these big required tax payments, because the government's now coming in and saying, hey, you haven't taken out enough. We want you to take out more than you need. And by the way, when you do that, you may already have a pension, you may already have Social Security, and you may have annuity income and other income. And this is going to push you way up in your tax bracket. So in that instance, yes, there's a big strategy around Roth conversions. It does need to be done right. And it's something that, in fact, one of our other partners is Bolden, personal financial planning software. And you can model that out with Bolden if you'd like. If you're interested in getting 2 weeks free, simply go to go.bolden.com/Schmidt. And I'll repeat that one more time for Jill, who's writing it down, and she's going to put it in the chat box. It's go.bolden, BOLDIN.com/Schmidt. And you can get 2 weeks free with Bolden of their full featured software. I personally use it, and that's the only financial planning software I use, by the way. And if you like it, after 2 weeks, then it's $12 a month. It's not expensive. You pay it annually, but it's the best $12 that you can invest, and you can do so much in there. In fact, I have an interview with the CEO tomorrow, and we'll be posting that in a couple of weeks. So we're going to talk about some new features that their software has. It's going to be great.
Great. All right. So Jeff Kind is asking a Medicare question. He's turning 65 in July. I'm trying to decide which company to go with for a plan N. Do community rated plans increase more each year compared to age-based plans?
It depends. There are, and this is a good reason to talk to Chapter, actually, because they have their operations there are pretty extensive, and they have a lot of data. And in fact, I didn't realize how much information they had until I talked to their CEO. But they have a lot of data on 2 things. One is what's the cheapest plan out there, and the other is what are the plans that have had the lowest increases historically. And so he posed a question. He said, if you had one plan that was $2 more a month than another plan, but it had historically had lower increases, which would you go with? And my answer was, well, I'd go with the one that was $2 more a month if the plan had shown that the rate increases have been lower. But it is going to be very specific to, it's going to be specific to where you live. It's going to be specific to the insurance company that's providing the plan. And so you need to really get in and talk to Chapter, and they can help you with that question specifically. Tell them what your concerns are. And as I said, the team there is wonderful. They help a lot of people, and we only have 3 affiliates on this channel, and we get approached 25 times a month easily to have affiliate relationships. So that should tell you how we feel about these affiliates. And so their numbers there, 440-703-1224.
And that service is free to you.
Totally free. There's no cost. And you don't pay a higher premium because you use Chapter or any, it's actually a law. The insurance companies can't charge you more if you use an advisor than if you do it yourself. And so I can't imagine why anybody would ever not want to use an advisor. Anyway, give them a call and they can help you with that.
Okay, so Bob 16329 is asking, if I claim early and will take the spousal benefit when my wife claims at 70, will my benefit be 50% of her full retirement age benefit, or will it be reduced if I claim mine early and be based on the age I claim?
It will be based on both. And let me explain to you what I mean. When you claim, there's a concept that's called dual entitlement. And in dual entitlement, when someone's entitled to 2 different benefits, and it's always the spousal benefit and their own benefit, they are locking in a portion of the larger benefit early. So if you have, let's say that you had a $1,000 benefit at full retirement age, it's your own benefit, but you claimed at age 62, so it was only $700. And at full retirement age, you had a $1,500 a month spousal benefit. Well, you've already locked in a $300 discount on your own benefit. So your $1,500 benefit gets discounted by that $300. This is a really rough explanation, but your benefit is your total benefit. You can only get the maximum if you wait to claim everything at that point in time. Otherwise, if you claim something early, that piece stops growing, and that piece of the larger, as a percentage of the larger piece, stops growing. So the example I used, $1,000, your own benefit at full retirement age, if you claim early at $700, so therefore it's $300 less, then that's the $300 less you would receive on the spousal benefit. And you can do the math on your own, but just look at what you would have gotten at full retirement age and what you were getting when you claimed, and the difference between the two is approximately what your spousal benefit would be reduced by.
All right, Roy Jones 8012 is asking, I just turned 64. How soon can I apply for Medicare and Medigap? I collect Social Security currently.
At age 64, you have, well, you can't claim yet unless there's a special circumstance, which doesn't sound like there is. You have a window 3 months before you turn 65, the month that you turn 65, and 3 months after the month you turn 65. And that is your initial enrollment period. During that time, you can claim, and it's a magic window. There's no underwriting. There's no premium increase. You can go on whatever plan you want at whatever the market rate is at that time for someone who's completely healthy. The window closes after that, or after you've claimed your Social Security, your Medicare plan, and then from that point forward, then you have to follow rules. But basically the point where you have no rules is 3 months before you turn 65, the month that you turn 65, and 3 months after, except if you're covered on what's called a creditable insurance plan. And what is a creditable insurance plan? Your employer has 20 or more employees, and you're on your employer's plan, or your spouse is on has your spouse's work has 20 or more employees, and you're on the spousal benefit of that plan. But outside of that situation, your windows 3 months before you turn 65, the month that you turn 65, and 3 months after. And I just have to put this out there because they have this quirky rule, and I know why they do it, but it confuses a lot of people. If you're born on the first of the month, then assume that you were born the month before. So if you were born on the 1st of July, assume for this rule you were born in June. And so it would be the 3 months before June, the month of June, and the 3 months after June. Outside of being on the first, it's your birth month and 3 months on both sides.
That's a great tidbit of information. All right. Steve from Wisconsin emailed in a question with a lot of parts, but I think this might apply to a lot of people. So many will get value from it. He's asking, I'm currently 67, born in February 7th, 1959. Plan to continue working until at least age 70 or possibly longer. I'm the higher earner. My wife is 65, born 4/25, 1961, and plans to begin collecting Social Security at her full retirement age of 67. I am covered under a large group union health plan, and my wife is covered as my spouse. This coverage is considered creditable, and we plan to use a special enrollment period to enroll in Medicare once I retire. My current plan is to begin collecting Social Security at age 70, thereby earning delayed retirement credits. I may also continue working after I begin collecting credits. I have several questions. Question 1. When my wife claims her spousal benefit, will it be calculated based on my benefit at full retirement age, or will it include my delayed retirement credits?
It would be based on your benefit at full retirement age. Your spouse can get up to 50% of your full retirement age benefit, but it's based on that benefit. And just as an FYI, because there's a 2-year age difference between the two of you, and you're planning on waiting 3 years, your spouse can't claim the spousal benefit until you file for your own Social Security benefit. So if you wait until age 70, that means that she has to wait until age 68 in that example.
Okay, the second question is, I understand that if I pass away, her survivor benefit would increase to reflect my benefit, including delayed retirement credits. Please confirm if that is correct.
That is correct. So the survivor benefit, people get the survivor benefit and the spousal benefit confused all of the time because they both go to the spouse and they both begin with S. And so people think that the rules must be similar, but they're not similar at all. Think of the survivor benefit like this. Your survivor gets whatever you are getting or what you were supposed to get if you haven't filed, unless you're under full retirement age. Then the SSA gives you the benefit of the doubt, and they say, we're going to assume you filed at full retirement age. If you pass before claiming after full retirement age, they assume that you filed the day that you pass. So they give you the credit of up to the day that you pass. And your spouse gets that. And so if your benefit was $100 at age 67, it's $124 at age 70 for most people anyway, there or thereabouts, if you are reaching full retirement age next year or later. And so your spouse gets that $124, but it also depends on how old they are. If your spouse is 20 years younger, then, or 10 years younger, it happens a lot, your spouse has a discount, and the discount is that they don't get to claim your benefit for an extended period of time. If they claim at their own full retirement age, they get 100% of your benefit. If they claim before their own full retirement age, then they get discounted. And this is a one pager. I would highly recommend that you get it. It's totally free. Go to my website, holyschmidt.com/quick guide. And on this one pager, you have 3 different columns. This is the column for the retiree, the primary insured. This is the middle column is for the spouse. It's the spousal benefit discount. And the third column is the survivor benefit column. And it tells you what you get at different filing ages. So a survivor who files for the survivor benefit gets 71.5% at age 60, gets 71.5% of the primary insured's actual benefit. If they wait until age 70, well, it's 71.5% of 124%, the example we just used, up until age 67, up until full retirement age, if that's your full retirement age. Then it's 100% from that point forward. Get this. It's free. It's one page. It's available instantly. Go to holyschmidt.com/quick guide, and you will have this available to you right away, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But the survivor gets whatever the primary insured was supposed to get, discounted for their own age. And there's one exception called a widow's limit beyond the scope of this live stream. But if you want to know more about the widow's limit, check it out on my YouTube page and just put in the word widow's limit, and there's a video on that.
All right, great. Okay, so his next question is, if I continue working past my full retirement age and replace a lower earning year within my 35 highest earning years, thereby increasing my AIME, will this increase my primary insurance amount?
Yes. So for those of you that don't know what AIME stands for, it's average index monthly earnings. It becomes the basis for what your calculation of your Social Security payment. They start with your AIME. It's your best 35 years divided by 420 months, and it tells you what your average indexed monthly earnings was over your career for your best 35 years. So if you're replacing lower income years with higher income years, that number is going to go up. And when that number goes up, that's fed into the formula. You're starting with a higher number, and your Social Security payment is going to be higher.
All right. So then will it also increase the value of my delayed retirement credits?
Delayed retirement credits, yes, it will, but delayed retirement credits, it'll increase the value of your delayed retirement credits because your full retirement age benefit will continue to go up, even if you're beyond full retirement age. And so that number that you get when you feed in the AIME into the formula is your full retirement age benefit. You keep increasing the size of the inputs, and your full retirement age benefit is going to go up. And that's in addition to the increases you get for waiting. And of course, the cost of living adjustment. You get the cost of living adjustment regardless of whether you claim early or you claim late. So if you had a 7 or an 8% increase to go from 67 to 68, and the COLA adjustment was 2.6%, then your increase for that year would be 10.6%. And so that's in addition to the increase in size based on the fact that you're adding bigger earning years and taking off smaller earning years in your 35 years.
Okay. And for whoever is listening to this and hasn't heard a lot of this alphabet soup and calculations and all of that, and it's sounding a bit complicated, you can check out Jeff's course. It's called Social Security Simplified, and you can find information about it at holyschmidt.com/Social Security. And if you type in 60 off all caps, you will get $60 off just from doing it from listening on the show.
And gang, I wish that there were an easier way to use some of these terms. I do try not to over alphabet soup it, but because you're dealing with government entities and they have specific terminology, as much of it as I can ungovernmentize, I do. But it is hard. But if you the course, the tagline is go from beginner to confident in under 5 hours. And we've had hundreds and hundreds of people sign up for this course. It's a great course. And I've had nobody that's come back and said, I wish I hadn't done that. In fact, the compliments are, anybody who comments has said that it's been an eye opener for them. They're really happy they took the course. And what was the coupon code, Jill?
60 off, and OFF is all caps. I will put that into the chat box while you're answering the next question.
Sure.
All right. So the last part of Steve's question is, if my AIME increases due to continued work, will that result in higher spousal benefits for my wife and survivor benefits for my wife?
Yes and yes. Your wife's spousal benefit is based on your full retirement age benefit. And so when you increase the size of your full retirement age benefit, the spousal benefit goes up. And so and in fact, something that's quite ironic is that someone can claim early or they can claim late, and the spousal benefit will always be based on the full retirement age benefit. Someone claims at age 62, but the spouse waits until full retirement age, they're going to get half the full retirement age benefit of the primary insured. And if the primary insured waits until 70, the spouse can only get half of the primary insurance amount at full retirement age. And so that's the maximum the spouse can get. And just download my cheat sheet and you'll see it. It's right there. It's very easy to understand.
Okay. And just for clarification, to get access to the course, it's hollyschmidt.com/social security. And then the coupon code is 60 off. I'm putting that into the chat box as we speak. Okay. Good. All right. Next question. Let me scroll back up quickly to where we were. Well, I'm just going to stop here and we'll take this question right here and then we'll come back. Whoops. All right. This is from S. Whalen. I am a primary earner. If my spouse claims her own work benefit at age 65, does that reduce her survivor benefit if I pass first? I plan to claim at 70, but definitely not until 67.
No. The survivor benefit isn't like the spousal benefit. There's no dual entitlement concept with the survivor benefit. I always say that when people constructed Social Security, they rounded up when it came to the survivor benefit. And some of the rules that you would kind of expect there to be in place, someone squinted and gave the survivor a pass. And so even if you claimed your own benefit early at age 65, if you later claim the survivor benefit, you'll get the full survivor benefit. And also, anecdotally, if you have the choice between a survivor benefit and your own benefit, well, then a lot of times it really comes down to which one can grow the highest. There are a lot of times where someone will take the survivor benefit and let their own benefit grow because they can let their own benefit grow until age 70. And the survivor benefit doesn't get any larger than when you reach full retirement age. So if the benefits are very similar, but your own benefit's going to continue to grow for another 24% between age 67 and 70, well, if both benefits are the same, most of the time people will take the survivor benefit first and let their own benefit continue to grow. And that's one of the unique features of the survivor benefit, and that it rounds up on some of the rules. It's a little bit better in some of the areas that you wouldn't expect it to be.
All right. Amuse Me Too is asking, I heard that my Medicare application has to be approved before I can pick a plan. Can you explain this process?
Your Medicare benefit is automatically approved if you apply within the window that we were talking about, 3 months before your 65th birthday, the month of your 65th birthday, or 3 months after your 65th birthday. So approved is probably the wrong word. You need to process in the right order. You can't sign up for a Medigap plan without having original Medicare in place. But that's different than actually the possibility of being denied. And so, and they can happen within 24 hours of each other. I've heard of people applying for Medicare and getting approved the next day. And so it's not a lengthy process.
All right. Dano in Maine is asking, my wife started collecting Social Security before I did. Now that I'm going to collect, can she opt on for half of mine, or is she stuck with her lower amount forever?
This goes back to the dual entitlement question, and a lot of it depends on it's unlikely that she'll get the full 50% if she claimed her own benefit early and then wanted to switch to the spousal benefit. How much of a haircut she'll have on the spousal benefit will depend on when she claimed her own benefit and the size of her benefit and the size of the spousal benefit. And I'll just give you a good example. If her benefit was $1,200 and she claimed early, and then the spousal benefit was $1,500, well, she's locking in a larger discount on her benefit than if her benefit was $1,000. And so something will probably come off. It just depends on when she filed and the size of her benefit and the size of the spousal benefit.
All right. Phil Wilburn is asking, I'm 67 and receiving $3,500 in Social Security. Wife's benefit is $1,600. Assuming I die before her, does she automatically jump to the survivor benefit of $3,500?
She does, but assuming that she herself is at full retirement age, she gets a full 100% of the survivor benefit. And there are rules around the survivor benefit. There are length of marriage rules, et cetera. They're not hard to comply with. And so assuming that you comply with the rules, and 99% of the people out there plus do, then she would get the $3,500 if she was at full retirement age. And full retirement age for most people on this call is somewhere between 66 and 67, with the vast majority of people skewing towards 67.
All right. Cindy Henry is asking, can you explain the break-even point for claiming Social Security? If one claims at 62, how quickly can they make up the difference if they waited to claim?
So break even, it's kind of an archaic concept, because people have come to realize that it's not about maximizing dollars. Actually, archaic's the wrong word. It's an older concept. And there used to be a break-even table on the Social Security website. If you go on there, it presented this table for you, and basically it told you what to think. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but what it was telling you is there's only one way to think about this, and that is, if you're going to live a long time, then you want to delay Social Security, because at this break-even point, you'll get more money than had you claimed early. And so the difference between 62 and 67, I believe, is The break-even point is 79 and a half. I'm doing this from memory, but the point is that if you think you're going to live beyond 79 and a half, then you would claim at 67. And then the difference then again between that and 70 is, I believe the break-even point is 82 or 82 and a half, age 82 and a half. So if you think you're going to live beyond age 82 and a half, you're better off waiting until age 70. The problem with break-even sounds like a joke. The problem with break-even is that not everything is about maximizing income. And there are a lot of reasons to claim early. One of those reasons is you might need the money. There are a lot of people out there that that's all they've got. This is it, and they need it. They need it to pay their bills. I'm not judging. It's probably not wouldn't be my favorite way to claim Social Security, but there are enough people out there that are in the situation that it's a valid one. Another reason is that you have enough money and you want to enjoy a certain part of retirement, and you want to enjoy the beginning years of retirement. You want to travel more. Who's to judge on that if you can afford your life in retirement? And a third reason might be because you need to help somebody out financially, a family member, a spouse, or a child. I don't know. So break even is about one thing and one thing only, and that is what is the age you need to live beyond where you get more money than by waiting later than by not waiting later. But it's also subjective because none of us is guaranteed tomorrow. And so you got to be really careful with break even because it makes some assumptions. It is a great insurance policy though. I've got to say, even if you're not sure if you're how long you're going to live, if this is a meaningful part of your cash flow, and you're not trying to optimize for the maximum amount of dollars in retirement, but you want the maximum amount of cash flow in your most vulnerable years, then waiting makes a lot more sense for a lot of people anyway.
All right. For anyone listening that's hearing something and they want to hear it again, it's been asked, is this live stream replayed? And yes, if you go to the Holy Schmidt YouTube channel, all of the lives are there. You just toggle over at the top from videos over to live, and you will see all the live streams there. So you can definitely rewatch anything. If you heard something and you want to re-listen, those are available. And this should be available when, Jeff? A few minutes after the show.
A few minutes after the show. YouTube needs to process it, maybe give it an hour, but you can use the same link that you already have and you can watch it again. You don't need to even change links. Just click on it again in the morning when you wake up and you can watch the whole thing all over again.
All right. DCH20428 is asking, once you claim Social Security, how long should it take for your application to be processed? My wife is going on 4 months since she was interviewed for her application, and we have heard nothing. And then he also adds, I should have said that we were requesting a start of January 1 with her check being February 2026.
Well, it sounds like there's a problem. It shouldn't take, most of the time you can do this all online and you don't need an interview. And you just provide some documents and that's it. Sometimes there's something that happens and don't worry, you'll get what's due to you. I've never heard of anybody not getting every dollar that was due to them, but something happens in the background that you don't know. Maybe somebody got a hold of your Social Security number and used it for employment. And now they've got you working out in California in one job and in New York in another job at the same time. And so they're confused. They don't know why that's in there. So check your earnings history, first of all, and see if all of the jobs on there are yours. It's unlikely that someone will be able to go in and claim your Social Security. I've never heard of it happening. When someone uses your Social Security number, it's usually to gain employment, not to get a hold of your Social Security check. And has it happened? I'm sure it's happened, but the vast majority of the time it's because someone's looking for employment. And that would be one of the top reasons why there's a delay. Somebody got a hold of your Social Security number and used it for employment, and somebody's trying to figure out why that is. And so, but there's only a limited number of things that need to be dealt with. That's a very likely contender. But I would look online and see if there's a reason for the delay. There's usually something posted, but if not, call Social Security. You have to wait online, and I mean on your phone, for a bit of time. Put it on speakerphone and do something else for the amount of time that you have to wait. But they'll tell you what the holdup is, and then eventually you'll get through. They'll pay you retroactively from Jan 1. You won't lose any money.
All right. So Ken from Illinois is asking, how will rental income affect my Social Security?
You're talking about taxes on Social Security. And so your Social Security taxes on Social Security, I'm assuming you're talking about taxes on Social Security and not your earnings test. Taxes on Social Security is your adjusted gross income plus half of your Social Security payment plus your interest-free, or your interest-free, your tax-free income, basically municipal income. And all of those are added together. And if you exceed certain thresholds, you are more and more likely to be taxed on your Social Security payment. And so these thresholds depend on if you're single or if you're married. And the more you earn, the higher the likelihood that a portion of your Social Security payment will become taxable. And the maximum amount of your Social Security that could be taxed is 85%. It doesn't mean that you're going to pay 85% tax on your Social Security payment. It just means that 85% of your Social Security payment could be considered ordinary income for tax purposes. So a lot of it depends on how that rental income plays into your overall adjusted gross income number.
All right, Mark Swanson, if you're still on, we need a little more context around the question. It says, what if I have no retirement at all? And I'm not sure what that relates to. There isn't another comment in there, but if you add more to it, we'll bring that in. Also, we see Michael Swami here, and I know just having conversation with others in the chat box, but I know you were looking for the book, and hopefully you did receive it. I know it was sent out. All right, we are coming up close to the top of the hour, but let's try to get a few more questions in. All right, we did this one. Yes. All right. Been taking my Social Security since 62 and blessed that since I have retirement, all my Social Security goes straight into savings. We are also blessed not to have a mortgage. Oh, there's no question with that one.
So when you said since 62, I thought he's been taking Social Security since 1962, and I was going to say, now that's break even. Whoever did that, they did pretty well.
All right. Let's see where we are in this chat box. All right. Scott, I am retiring in July and will enroll in Medicare but not claim Social Security. When should I submit Social Security 44 to ensure my monthly Medicare premiums are calculated based on my new, much lower income?
Would you repeat that?
Yes, I'm retiring in July and will enroll in Medicare but not claim Social Security.
Okay.
When should I submit Social Security 44 to ensure my monthly Medicare premiums are calculated based on my new, much lower income?
So you're talking about IRMA. That doesn't really have a lot to do with Social Security, except for the fact that your income is based on your IRMA. Your Part B premiums are based on your income from 2 years earlier. So if I understand the question correctly, if you have to pay Medicare Part B premiums, those in 2026 are going to be based on your 2024 earnings. You don't have an IRMA surcharge if your modified adjusted gross income is 100 is less than $109,000. And there are also some life events where if it was beyond that, one of those being retirement, where you can appeal an IRMA decision. And so it's 8:00. Why don't you shoot your question to us at the live stream inbox with as much detail as you can provide, and we'll either work through it with you offline or we'll bring it up next week. Only provide your first name, of course. We don't want to have any personal information on the live stream, but give us as much detail as you feel comfortable with, and we'll attack this with a little bit more rigor in 7 days.
All right. We have so many more questions emailed in and a few more in the chat box, but we are at 8:01. And out of respect for everybody's time, since it is late here on the East Coast, I think we should probably wrap it up.
Gang, thank you so much for your time tonight. If your question didn't get answered, just bear with us. We just got a lot of questions that came in, and we try to make sure that we answer them as thoroughly as possible. Put it in an email to us at livestream@holyschmidt.com, and you can talk to. We'll get it on the list. We stack them in reverse order, meaning that the questions that come in first go at the top of the list, and then we work our way down. So if a question comes in at 6:00 tonight, first of all, we stop taking questions at 4:00 just because we have to compile everything for the show. But if a question came in at 4:00, it's going to be the last one put on the list. So get your question in early, and that'll be the first one we answer next week. With that, I think we're done. Jill, thank you so much for your expert guidance through all of the questions. Gang, thank you for staying up with us here in New York. It's 8:00 our time, and we're here to deliver for you. So if there's anything we can do, just make sure you send an email to us on the live stream inbox, and we'll try to get that question answered. Don't forget Ari's book. Just put Ari's book or Ari, A-R-I, in the subject line and send it to us. We're getting these out as fast as they can. I think we probably get more books out than Amazon. I don't know. I'm not sure, but it feels like it anyway. So we're getting them out as fast as we can, but send them to it. Send an email to livestream@holyschmidt.com. Put Ari's book in the subject line, and we'll get you a digital copy. With that, I think we're done. So thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next Tuesday at 7 p.m.
Thank you. See you next week.